Hey guys, welcome back. So this is an important video for everyone who is considering to make a UCAS application. As you know, you apply to 5 UK universities through UCAS and you are required as a part of the application to write out a personal statement. There are many myths surrounding personal statements and that can be a little scary. So I truly hope that this video can help to ease your nerves a little bit and provide you with some guidelines on how to write a good personal statement. So to make you better understand what I am talking about, I will read from my own personal statement. And just to remind you, I applied for psychology. So of course, the personal statement will look very different for different subjects, but the core spirits are the same. So remember to subscribe and let's get started. So the first tip is that you have to have a good beginning and a good closure. Now, writing a personal statement is just like writing a speech. You need to have a really good beginning in order to catch the attention of the readers. And you need to have a really good closure to make sure that the reader has fully understood what you're saying about yourself and has got the core message about you. Without a good beginning and a good closure, the entire thing will just collapse. Even if you have great evidence to support that you are a great candidate, those effects might get mitigated because of a bad beginning and a bad closure. There are different ways to do this, but I'm just going to read from my personal statement to give you a little bit more idea about what I'm talking about. So my personal statement starts like this. I like to think of a surface, a spoken word, a musical score, or a gesture as a fish bait. Only by dropping that bait into water, by tearing apart the surface of everyday phenomena, can I catch the big fish of knowledge and insight. And it ends like this. Our world is covered with fish baits. Many people are satisfied with just looking at them, but I do not belong to that category. As a future psychologist, I will drop the bait, surpass the surface, and catch the fish of insights into human behavior that are deep underwater. So basically the strategy I have used here is opening with a metaphoric hook. So I'm comparing surface to a fish bait. And then at the end coming back to it and add to it. So this strategy is kind of common, but if used well, it is very effective. It's like drawing a circle. You start from a point and then at the end you go back to that point. This gives the readers a sense of completeness, which makes them satisfied, So if I just started with that metaphor and then at the end, I talk about something else that is completely unrelated to that metaphor, the readers might be a little puzzled. They wouldn't understand what is really the meaning of that metaphor and how I am related to that metaphor. So making sure that you come back at the end to the message that you have initially stated is a really important thing. So, repeating and adding to it at the end always makes the entire thing more powerful and effective. But this is just one of the ways in which you can have a good beginning and closure. There are different other ways that you can do it, but this is kind of the strategy that I personally like a lot. And I think this is a little easier to handle as well. And then the second tip is highlight what is special about you. Now, unis receive applications from thousands and thousands of great candidates. If you cannot tell them what is special about you, then no matter how much excellent knowledge you demonstrate in your personal statement, it's not gonna be very interesting. You can talk fluently about the newest findings and research in your field, but they know that as well. Those are just information that you can get from books and internet. Whereas information about you and about what is special about you is something that they really want to know, and those are the things they cannot get from internet or any books. So it would be really nice if you demonstrate some interesting knowledge you have about your field, but remember to talk about your own perspective in front of this knowledge. So you really want to catch the attention of those who are reading your personal statements. You want to stand out because as they read through thousands and thousands of personal statements, they are humans and they can get bored, right? So you really want to make sure that your personal statement is giving them something that other people do not. And that's the key. So I have done this in my personal statement, and it goes like this. I have the ability and courage to go beyond the surface, to think from the deepest part of my Chinese, Italian, and English psyche. This is what defines me as a student and individual. So this is from one of the first parts of my personal statement. So from the beginning, I'm really highlighting what is special about me, and I'm putting in the different cultures and psyches that I have, Chinese, Italian, English. And then I am highlighting what is special about me. So the ability and courage to go beyond the surface, to not only look at things as they are on the surface, but really to investigate into them, to go to the deeper part of these everyday scene phenomena and get something out from them. So this is the kind of speciality that I've portrayed myself to have, and you can do the same. I mean, you have to tell those people who are reading your personal statements why you're special and why you are unique and why you are a good candidate for their course. And in fact, one of the most important advices that I have got for my personal statement is my college counselor has told me, remember, you're not applying to be a psychologist, but to be a student of psychology. They do not really care about how much professional knowledge you have about psychology. They care about why you are a good student of psychology, what skills you have that makes you a good student to teach, an enjoyable student to teach. And remember, being a student is not the same as being a psychologist in this case. The student needs not to have a lot of professional knowledge, but there are some core qualities such as curiosity, critical thinking, those sort of skills that are really key to being a good student of any field. So you really want to highlight those qualities instead of going on and showing of how much knowledge you have. That sort of behavior might make those people annoyed in some cases. Now, the third thing is to mention books. You might have heard from a lot of people and even your teachers or counselors saying that mentioning what you have read about your field in your personal statement is really good, and that is not false. It's true. It is not a requirement of PS, but it is very beneficial if you do so. Because having really good reading skills and interpretation skills are really important for any college student. So you really want to show them that you not only know the textbook content, but you are eager to explore more about a specific subject matter by going beyond and doing some extra reading, and that would please those people who are reading your personal statement a lot. Now, a point to mention here, it's the quality that matters and it's not the quantity. You don't want to mention like 5 books, but without giving any sort of your own insight into the book. So mention the books, but most importantly, say what you think about the book. And so I'm just going to read the section that I wrote about books to you. It's quite long. Through Goleman's emotional intelligence, I learned that an invisible hand summons people into a group, sometimes called competition, sometimes collaboration. It puts a lock on our identities. I became aware that humans are not stuck together by a double-faced sticker, but by goals. The story goes deeper. In contrast to Goldman, Sachs, in his The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat, analyzed patients gone to pieces under neurological devastation. I asked myself, how could these people function in a group? Severe Korsakoff's forced Mr. Thompson to improvise his world every second as he kept forgetting it. Still, he created life stories to join the human group. Surprisingly, the need to belong is not restricted by neurological makeup. So, the point that I wanted to make here, so I have mentioned 2 books in my personal statement, and I think 2 is a good number if you can explore enough depth. So the other point that I wanted to make about mentioning books in your personal statement is you don't really want to mention them as being separate entities. So, for example, in this case, I'm not saying, okay, in Goleman's emotional intelligence, he said this, and then in Sachs' book, he said this. So I kind of connected them together by finding a common point that can, stick the 2 books together, but allows me to explore the differences that the 2 authors have in their writing and in the content they have written. So, and I think the wording I asked myself is a really good way to show that you are not just passive receiver of the information from the book, but you're actively thinking about what you're reading. So that's what college professors really like. You don't want to be just a machine of taking in information, but you really want to be giving some outputs. You really want to make connections between the 2 books, because nothing in your field is completely separated. There are always some sort of connections that you can make, and you want to make those connections in your personal statement. You want to show those people that you have this ability to connect what you know and what you read, and take out questions from them. That's a really important skill, and I think that's a really good skill to have as a college student. So the 4th one is to mention your achievements. Now, one of the most ambiguous tips I have ever received when I wrote my personal statement is that people saying, you don't really want to show off too much in your personal statement, and you want to be as humble as possible. Well, this is not always true, although it is an important tip to keep in mind, because the PS is the only piece of writing you are writing and you are going to show to the universities you're applying to. So you really don't want to miss this chance to tell them what's good about you. Now, what is true about that tip is you don't want to make a list of all of your good qualities. So you don't want to say, I'm really hardworking, I'm a really curious student, I always try my best, I always try to think beyond. You don't really want to tell them what's good about you. Rather, you want to show them why you're a good student. Now, the verb tell and show are very different. So when you tell to the universities what's good about you, so for example, the list I have just made, that is really showing off. But if you show them why you are a good student by providing them evidence, that's where they can come up with a conclusion themselves about what's good about you. So that's where mentioning your achievements is really important. So you don't want to just throw to them a list of your good qualities. Rather, you want to tell them what you have achieved, which can then show them why you are a good student. So in my personal statement, I have said, this determination is rewarded by my placing first on the academic honor roll for 6 consecutive semesters, my winning of the IB Academic Scholarship, and the sole IB Psychology Academic Award. So I didn't tell them that I am an excellent student, achieved the highest grades in my grade year. I didn't tell them this. I just showed them the hard evidence that I have got for my, to reveal that I am a good candidate to them. So I'm trying to defend my position by providing evidence to them and allow them to come to a conclusion about what type of student I am instead of, telling them straightforward. So instead of telling them that I am a really good student, those words are just as if they're not there. So they're useless. Just don't waste those words on those sort of useless claims. So you might be aware of the fact that some schools, especially Oxford and Cambridge, do not really care about extracurricular activities, but some others do. So you always want to mention some of them in your personal statement. Now, the important thing is that the important thing is you don't want to throw in a list of extracurricular activities without explaining how they are related to your studies and to you as a person. So you don't want to say, I play volleyball, I run, I play piano, I play violin, I participate in the student council. You just don't want to give them a list of things that you do, because that's not what they really want. So it's really important that when you mention all the activities you do, you relate them to you as a person and as a student. So here's what I have said in my personal statement. Participation in the Student Council and the 51st Thyman Conference gave me an opportunity to study group dynamics in international settings. As a writer for the newspaper club, I cover psychological aspects of the monthly issue. This chance to share the beauty of psychology has brought me great joy. In addition, collaborations with the school psychologist to lead assemblies on the psychology of learning gained me experiences of the field outside the syllabus. Lastly, participation in the Young Psychologist internship gave me insights into the working lives of chartered psychologists. So I have mentioned quite a few extracurricular activities that I've done, but not too many. And the important thing, as you can see here, is that I have related them to the degree that I want to pursue and how these activities have helped me to develop skills that are important in order to be a good college student. So that's basically everything I want to say about extracurricular activities. And as you might know, that people, when giving advices for PS, they always say 80% academics and 20% extracurricular activities. In this personal statement, extracurricular activities have occupied approximately 15 to 17% of the entire writing. So a little bit less than 20%. That's because I was applied to Oxford. So I wanted to make sure that I really devote enough time to talk about my academics. That really depends on your situation and your,
your applications, but I would say never go beyond 20%. That's really the max you can write about. So there is really not a secret path towards writing a good PS. Every PS is different, and they can have many different types of formats. Everyone is different, so what is true about you might not be true for other people. And so the important thing is to be yourself, and one last thing I wanted to say is not to seek too much advices from other people. That's what I have done with my PS. So I always thought the more people read my PS, the better, because I can get more feedback from others. Well, that's true to some extent. If you go too much beyond, then you will be really confused about what you should do, because everyone has a different perspective and everyone ends up giving you different advices, so you don't really know what to do. So I would say ask 3 to 4 people to read your PS for you, and then just leave it away. You don't really want to continue and seek feedback. So the tips I've shared with you are really general tips to write a good PS. And even though PS have different content and formats, there are some really core spirits that a good PS should have. I truly hope this video has helped you in some ways to get you started with your PS, or to help you if you're already writing your PS. It's a quite exciting journey, I have to say, although it seems quite daunting in the first place. But for me, it really spurred me to think and reflect upon what type of person I am, and what type of student I am, what person I want to become in the future. So just don't step back. You can do it. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.